Hi, everyone. So, today we're going to talk about something that impacts so many women, especially during perimenopause, but it often gets completely overlooked, and that is estrogen clearance. Now, a lot of women think estrogen problems automatically mean that they have too much estrogen. But the reality is that women don't necessarily make too much estrogen. They just simply aren't clearing and detoxifying it properly out of the body. Now, when that happens, estrogen can build up in the body and create symptoms that make you feel like your hormones are just completely out of control. So, we're going to break down what estrogen clearance is, why it matters, signs it may be an issue, and what you can do to support it naturally. Now, first, let's talk about what is estrogen. Estrogen is one of the primary female sex hormones. It's responsible for regulating your menstrual cycle, supporting bone health, cardiovascular health, brain function, skin health, and reproductive health. The problem actually isn't estrogen itself because we need estrogen. The issue occurs when estrogen becomes imbalanced or when your body cannot properly process and eliminate it. Now, you want to kind of think of estrogen like garbage collection. Your body produces estrogen, it uses it, and then it needs to get rid of the excess. But if the trash doesn't get taken out, then it starts to pile up. And that's essentially what happens when estrogen clearance becomes impaired. Now, let's talk about how estrogen is actually cleared. Now, there are three major systems that are involved in the body: the gut, the liver, and the bowels. So, the liver is where estrogen detoxification starts. Your liver takes estrogen and transforms it into forms that can be safely eliminated. So, this process occurs through what we call phase one and phase two detoxification pathways. Now, once estrogen is processed by the liver, it gets packaged up and sent into the digestive tract through bile. Then the gut microbiome gets involved. So, certain bacteria help regulate estrogen metabolism. Some bacteria produce an enzyme called beta glucuronidase. So, when beta glucuronidase levels become elevated, it can actually reactivate estrogen that was already prepared for elimination. So instead of leaving the body, that estrogen gets recycled back into circulation. Now you're carrying around estrogen your body was trying to get rid of. So finally, the bowels play a major role. So if you're constipated or you're not having regular bowel movements, estrogen sits in the digestive tract longer and has more opportunity to be reabsorbed. This is one reason constipation and estrogen dominance typically will go hand in hand. Now, let's talk about the common symptoms. So, signs that estrogen clearance may be that you may be struggling are heavy periods, painful periods, PMS, breast tenderness, fibrocystic breasts. That's one. If you've ever had a mammogram and told that you had fibric or dense tissue in breast, that's usually an indication. Weight gain, especially around the hips and thighs, mood swings, irritability, anxiety, water retention, headaches, migraines, difficulty losing weight, worsening perimenopausal symptoms, endometriosis, uterine fibroids, and estrogen sensitive symptoms or conditions. Now, one thing that I see frequently in women in perimenopause who assume that they're low estrogen because they're having hormonal symptoms, but many of these women are actually dealing with estrogen dominance relative to progesterone. So their progesterone is basically declining faster than estrogen. So estrogen is not necessarily high, it's just high in ratio to the levels of progesterone. Now, essentially now excess estrogen influence, even if, like I said, estrogen itself is not technically high. So this is why testing is so important. Now, let's talk about what can interfere with estrogen clearance. So, the very first thing is poor liver function. So, I'm not talking about liver disease. I'm basically talking about sluggish detoxification pathways. So, factors that can contribute are nutrient deficiencies, chronic stress, blood sugar dysregulation, alcohol, toxin exposure, fatty liver, poor diet. Like those are some of the main drivers. The second major factor is gut dysfunction. So this is where I spend a lot of time with my clients. If any of y'all watched any of my lives, you know that's kind of my jam. Like that is the big thing that I specialize in. So if you have SIBO, constipation, dysbiosis, candida overgrowth, H. pylori, leaky gut, poor microbiome diversity, elevated beta glucuronidase, then you're likely struggling with estrogen recycling. So this is one of the big reasons why many women notice improvements in hormone symptoms when we actually start fixing and addressing the gut. Now, the third factor is toxins. So many chemicals in our environment act as endocrine disruptors. So these include plastics, pesticides, herbicides, fragrances, conventional cleaning products, and certain cosmetics. Now, these compounds can actually mimic estrogen and add additional burden to estrogen detoxification pathways. Now, let's talk about the different estrogen pathways. This is where it gets really interesting. So, not all estrogen metabolites are created equal. Some estrogen metabolites are considered more protective, others are more inflammatory and potentially more problematic. So, this is one reason why I love doing Dutch testing. So, it allows us to see not only estrogen levels, but how estrogens are actually being metabolized in the body. So, with the Dutch test, we can evaluate pathways like the 2OH estrogen pathway, the 4OH estrogen pathway, and the 16OH estrogen pathway. So, a woman may have normal estrogen levels, but still be creating metabolites that contribute to symptoms. Again, testing will always give us the full picture. So, now, what can you do to support estrogen clearance naturally? The number one thing above everything else is to support bowel regularity. So, this is one of the most overlooked pieces. So, you want to aim for 1 to 3 well formed bowel movements daily. So, like well formed S shaped log, that is essentially the definition of a perfect poop. So, you want to aim for 1 to 3 bowel movements daily. You want to support hydration, fiber intake, movement. Magnesium can help if appropriate, and address constipation if it's present. So, if estrogen can't leave through the bowels, then it often gets recycled. Now, number two, the second thing that you can do is eat cruciferous veggies. So, cruciferous veggies contain compounds that support healthy estrogen metabolism. So, examples include broccoli, broccoli sprouts, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, cabbage, arugula, radishes. Broccoli sprouts are especially powerful because they contain sulforaphane. So, sulforaphane supports detoxification enzymes and healthy estrogen metabolism. Now, the third thing that you can do is support the microbiome. A healthy gut helps maintain healthy estrogen metabolism. You want to focus on fiber, polyphenols, diverse plant foods, addressing dysbiosis when it's present in the gut, supporting beneficial bacteria. And this whole concept is often called the estrobolome. The estrobolome refers to the collection of gut bacteria involved in estrogen metabolism. Now, the fourth thing that you can do is support liver detoxification nutrients. This is a good one as well. So, your liver requires specific nutrients to perform detoxification. These include B vitamins, magnesium, zinc, selenium, glycine, glutathione, and sulfur containing foods to those who tolerate those. And protein is especially important. So, many women are under eating protein and unknowingly limiting their body's ability to detoxify hormones as a whole. Now, number 5, consider targeted supplements when appropriate. Now, depending on the individual and testing, this may include DIM, calcium D glucarate, sulf- sulforaphane, again, sorry, had a little tongue tied there. Endo 3 carbinol is a good one. Broccoli sprout extracts, milk thistle, N-acetylcysteine, and this is really truly where personalization matters because it's not every woman needs the same supplement, and not every woman responds well to DM. I've seen women feel amazing on it and others feel terrible. Now, sixth thing that you can do, and this is very, very important and often a missed piece, is supporting bile flow. Now, remember, estrogen leaves through bile. If bile isn't moving efficiently, then estrogen clearance can suffer as a result. Now, ways that you can support bile flow are adequate hydration, movement, bitter greens, arugula, dandelion greens, beets, and then digestive support when appropriate. There's other things that you can add in, but addressing gallbladder issues if they're present. And then the seventh thing that you can do is manage stress. You know, I wasn't going to have a live without talking about stress. Chronic stress affects everything. Stress impacts the liver, the gut, blood sugar, inflammation, and hormone production. You cannot out supplement a nervous system that is constantly stuck in survival mode. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. If you're struggling with heavy periods, PMS, weight loss resistance, bloating, breast tenderness, headaches, perimenopausal symptoms, or if you just feel like your hormones are all over the place, don't assume that you simply need more supplements. Sometimes the missing piece is helping your body properly clear the hormones it's already making. So your hormones don't function independently. Your gut, your liver, detox pathways, microbiome, bowel habits, stress levels, and nutrition can all influence hormone balance. The goal is not to eliminate estrogen. The goal is healthy production of estrogen, healthy metabolism, and healthy clearance of estrogen. When all three are working together, that's when women tend to feel their best. So, if you have questions about estrogen clearance, or you're wondering whether your gut could be contributing to your hormone symptoms, drop them in the comments or send me a DM and I'd be happy to answer them.